Okay. So greetings, everybody. My name is Robert Savino, and I'm the executive board of the Walt Whitman Birthplace. And for today, I'm George Wallace. I greet you on behalf of the executive director at the Birthplace, Caitlin Shea, and welcome you to the final gathering of season 3's Triangulation Journey, Poets Building Bridges. Poets Building Bridges is produced by Poetrybay Productions for the Walt Whitman Birthplace and led by George Wallace, who's been the writer in residence for the Birthplace for going on 15 years. The series is live on Zoom, as we know, and it's soon to be available on YouTube. The Birthplace offers events throughout the year. Some of them are on Zoom, and I recommend you visit our website for details. It's www.waltwhitman.org. I thank all the poets and guests who have joined us today. I thank Bonnie, our technical director at the Birthplace, and always, even in his absence, I thank George for his continuance of this program, the other programs he does to support the Birthplace, and what he does to support poetry, both in our local community and worldwide. I thank you, George. And now I'll turn the journey over to the George and me today and introduce our first group. Mimi German is an American poet who resides in the Steens Mountain wilderness of Oregon, listening to the songs of coyote coming down from the hills. She is Oregon's first Beat Poet Laureate and the author of Beneath the Gravel Weight of Stars, Where Grasses Bend, and Flowers of the Litter. And I love the wilderness in Oregon. I'd love to be there someday. Welcome, Mimi German.
Thank you. It's really an honor to be here and to have been asked by George and everyone working at Whitman's Birthplace to come on and meet everybody and share our work together across the world. The reason that our particular group is here today is to discuss this book, Flowers of the Litter, a little pocket-sized book that well, the title is Flowers of the Litter, Poetry of and for People Living on the Streets. And the idea came through just discussion about poets who are living on the streets who could take part in something like this in a book where the opportunity and the platform isn't necessarily readily available. And also to create poetry that is somewhat uplifting for people on the street rather than, well, I'm just going to read you something that Carlos wrote because I worked on this book, Carlos, and he says it best, and it's in the afterword. We've tried to include work that inspires and reflects, not shouts ideals. Although it has the capability, it seems humanity, ironically, lacks the humanity to resolve these issues. This collection does not attempt to solve this crisis, the crisis of homelessness. At most, all it can do is hopefully provide a moment's consolation, a moment's recognition of the struggle itself. We have chosen to pepper the text with the words of the grandfather of American poetry, Walt Whitman. In doing so, we hope to show humanity at pinnacle, all kindness and potential fulfilled. And then he writes, this is his writing, Mimi was clear from the outset. This is a book of poetry for people who generally don't read poetry, selected primarily for those struggling on the streets. It should rise from those very streets, whilst at the same time, deep stanzas like a loving kind of rain. It seeks not to exclude in any way and hopes education or opportunity precludes none. It is with love that I hope we achieve that. That in a nutshell is this book. I knew that there were poets on the streets of Portland who were writing in a newspaper that was created by and sold by people living on the streets for income. So I went to Street Roots, which is the name of that newspaper, and spoke with some of the poets and asked them if they would like to be part of this book collection. And they said yes. And we have with us today one of those poets, and she's an incredible poet. and that's Bronwyn, and we'll get to Bronwyn. I'm excited for that. But before I read, I would like to know, Pankhuri, you're in India, and do you have a time constraint? Like, is it, would you like to, before we get into anything else, would you like to read right now, or do you have a few moments to?
Absolutely. I do have a few moments, actually more than that. So please, yeah, go
Okay.
ahead.
Okay. So I
Yeah.
think what I'd like to do then is invite Carlos into this, because Carlos and I wrote the poem Flowers of the Litter. And Carlos, what I was thinking was, if we read Flowers of the Litter now, perhaps you can take it from there and say what you like. We have plenty of time about the book and whatever else you might want to do.
Okay, let's do the title poem, Flowers of the Litter, and then I'll sort of kind of almost repeat what Mimi said, but in different words. That's what we do as writers, I guess. We just repeat what everything else humanity has already said and experienced, but in a different way. Anyway, so this is Flowers of the Litter, and we're going to try and read this by taking in turns. So we wrote this together. We didn't write it exactly as we're going to read it together, but it just flows better when we do a stanza each. So, Flowers of the Litter. Take all flowers off the street, wash them away. That is the way the state would have it.
I collect petals like others do cans, place them in eternity in the pages of my heart.
Remember when hope was something you could remember? When you weren't full with emptiness and fault?
Love exists in the essence of breath and mountain rain, in the harsh of winter's pain, in the bite of raw.
Home too long in the ignore, relief your only not friend. Crowds stride through urban fields litter-lined, bulging, belonging carts and wrinkles.
What use, poets?
I give you these flowers while I mantra your name.
I give you these flowers while I mantra your name.
Thank you. And I think that's probably the first poem that I've ever wrote with another poet. And if you've never done it before, I'd recommend it. Just choose wisely your partner. I was very lucky and very pleased to be invited to help Mimi with this collection, especially as it's for those who maybe don't have access to books and poetry. But it was a really difficult task to choose selection from the works of Walt Whitman without being patronizing or belittling the struggle on the streets. But we couldn't think of anyone who would be more appropriate than the grandfather of American stanzas, the old uncle of the road. To me, Walt Whitman's is like he's like an owl, gliding through the night, the still of the nights of your heart, and that speaks to absolutely everybody. And that's what we wanted to do, is find poets and words of Whitman that would appeal to everyone, but also, most importantly, offer hope and understanding as well. So, should we read a snippet of Whitman? Who would like to do that? Do you want to have a crack at that, Mimi?
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead and read the first one.
You want me to do the first one? Okay.
Sure.
Let's find that one now. So this one is just a snippet from Life. You could say that about all poetry, I guess. But Sands at 70. Ever the undiscouraged, resolute, struggling soul of man, ever the soul dissatisfied, curious, unconvinced at last, struggling today the same, battling the same. So there you go. I mean, what more appropriate place to read Walt Whitman than in the Birthplace Museum of Walt Whitman, and for such, I think, an important collection, and one that we hope will touch the lives of the people that we have aimed this collection at. We're imploring people, don't just buy the book, but buy the book and buy extra copies and donate them to your local shelter. Back to you, Mimi.
For time, to make sure everyone is heard, Pankhuri, would you like to read one of your poems from our book, Flowers of the Litter?
Absolutely. So, hello to everybody, and thank you again, Mimi, and thank you to George, and also congratulations to him. And now I'll just read my poem. In a snowstorm. And right now, Buffalo is like, experiencing amazing snowstorm. That's where I used to live. And this is also a little bit from my experience in Calgary. Out and about in a 7 feet snow dumping snowstorm, beside the frozen glass wall of the bus stop, a human figure huddled. Is it a blanket or just a larger overcoat? A hand shaking in temperatures below zero, the light of a cigarette, twinkling like fire dance on white ice, flame color engulfs all. Yet winter lingers, questions burn. Who was supposed to come and get you, and who couldn't come? Who was supposed to come and get you, and who couldn't come? How did you, when did you arrive? Did no one follow you? Did no one follow you, person or state? Don't you have a social security number? You see, I'm waiting for mine since the past 14 years or longer. I lost count, you see. I am an immigrant that got too close. But how did you get pushed away? How did they lose you? Can't you find your way back? Can't you find your way back, my friend? I am trying to. Thank you.
Pankhuri, when I read your poem, it was so many experiences that I had experienced as someone who spent many years just as a friend to people living on the street. And I wondered how you, what brought that poem on, but you lived here. You lived in North America. So
For 7 long years in Buffalo, and then for 7 long years in Calgary. And I don't think I could actually make friends with the people on the streets, but I often encountered them. Like I often saw like this figure at the bus stop, like in like really freezing conditions. I don't see them on the news. I don't know why, but I used to see them.
thank you for
So yeah.
thank you
You
for
think is this a misreading? Are they not there?
they're very much there. It's just not newsworthy.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Thank you, Pankhuri.
Thank you to you.
Bronwyn, I would like you to have some time here reading the works that you wrote and contributed to this book.
You want one or two of the three?
Oh, definitely 3. So can you give a little bit just for time? We have about 12 minutes left. Can
Okay.
you a brief intro about you and whatever you want to say, and then let's hear your poems.
Okay. Hi, I'm Bronwyn. I have been writing since I was a child. I won my first award in 2nd grade for a rewriting of the song "Revenge of the Giant Purple People Eaters." I won a Scholastic Award for that. I've also been invited to contribute for Oregon Poet Laureate last year. That said, I also found myself in 8 years of homelessness that I've recently recovered from, if you would. I've been housed after those 8 long years. I do contribute to Street Roots regularly as a writer, as well as a journalist, and mostly as a poet. And I worked with Mimi on Flowers of the Litter a few years ago, I guess about 1.5 years now. And when she approached myself as others, I was thrilled to A, be asked, and B, to see it in print was just a fantastic feeling. I do a lot of advocacy around homelessness now because I just need people to know that it's not a one-size-fits-all situation. And I'm currently being featured in a film called No Place to Grow Old, which is by Humans for Homes. And that can be seen from their website. There is a QR code that you can either contribute or arrange for a showing of the film. That said, I'd like to read now from Flowers of the Litter. The first one I'll read is called This and When. This is the time of year when birds sing their songs at 5:30 a.m. in the morn, till night comes to tuck them in, when the rain changes its mind, decides to slumber, several months of silence till it remembers Casablanca and cries. This is the time of year I think of outdoor patio bars of San Francisco and Portland, where sun gathers with people, when noble is the sunshine and all the cool kids drink Kool-Aid now made for grown-ups, wearing sunshades over reddened eyes, talking passionately of nothings. This is the time of year you and I venture out and about, jackets no longer required as the universe leads the way, when we go with the flow and laugh out loud at private jokes, whilst you suggest we visit hell. I hold your hand and together we fall. This is the time of year for remembrances. Yet how do I remember when I haven't forgotten you? This one is called To Take Shape. I am looking skyward, my back flat on ground of ink and soil, looking through squinted eyes as sun of lemon yellow kisses lids bathes my face. In blazing light, looking I am at clouds of cotton white taking shape, looking for you. But wind blows those outlines to outliers, and I am left still searching, scanning for even a memory to take shape. In my mind's eye, I see you, standing casual, laughing at someone's joke, I think. You turn, and those blue eyes, I miss that smile, those eyes, and I smile and laugh at the joke unheard because it seemed like the right thing to do, and so to see you longer as I long for us. And this one is a reflection on my homelessness when we had our camp swept. It's called Cannot Sweep Nature. On path of freshly turned dirt, from the last sweep that came through mounds of debris and whatnots, hide within trip traps of muddy earth. Yet even those souls from this place have been scattered north, south, east, west, upside down. One lone daffodil appeared, pushed up through the mud that is the soil, bright golden yellow with its almost orange trumpet center, proclaiming a hearkening for hope to take shape, love to blossom once more. Thank you.
Bronwyn, thank you so much. What an honor it is to have you with us.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So we're coming towards the close of our half hour. Carlos, would you like to read one of yours? And then I'm going to read, as a last one, I've chosen to read from poets in the book who aren't with us. So I'll do that at the end. But Carlos, do you want to read one of yours and then I'll end it?
Sure, yeah. Just want to say to Bronwyn, that last one, when I read it the first time, when we were working through the proof, I was thinking of Allen Ginsberg's and Sunflower poem, Railroad Yard in San Jose, with its inch-long crown. So yeah, that was a lovely memory as well. This one is called Stoned. To all those who have lost childhood littered in the past, lost friends broken in the mess, lost homes with absolutely no desire to curl into winter's cold palm, who settle for bread, denied even a dream of roses, who have tasted the grip of ecstasy and cough up its anchoring hold. To all those who cherish the sun, I say you deserve more than some crummy, overworked, underfunded civic office. You deserve humanity, of which your unholy circumstance reveals is in terrible famine. For you, then, there is only yourself and the everyday saints. Together, we offer these few poems as blankets of hope. Useless as they are at least a stone into which your existence has been scratched before being kicked along the road. Have you ever seen a stone stand up? I dream it happens. I hope. We wish. And friend, you will. Thank you.
Beautiful, Carlos. Thank you. George, it's lovely to see you here. Congratulations on your award. And thanks for being able to stop in for a moment. Nice. I think one of the final poems I'd like to read from the book is by a woman whose name is Kate Black. We knew in creating this book that it might happen that some of the poets who contributed from the street might not be with us any longer. And Kate died before being able to see this book released. Oh. And in her honor, I'm going to read her poem called A Single Step. Accept the obstacles you face. In this moment, it may turn out to be your greatest gift. There's something to be said for the compassion the gray streets have to offer. In just one day, so much can happen. In just one day, your whole life may change. Even a journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. Some days it seems like they're only steps, backwards. But the gratitude you have by what is received outweighs what has been given. The truth lies in your heart. I have no ego in this. The smallest change can lead to the biggest reward. Take that step. Find your path. The secret is your opportunity to this life you are living. We only have one life to live, and it is our own. A Single Step by Kate Black. I'm grateful to have been able to bring Pankhuri, Bronwyn, and Carlos together in this room of poets, and I thank you for having us. This book is available anywhere. It's called Flowers of the Litter, and if anyone wants to purchase it, we do, as Carlos mentioned earlier, we do ask that you purchase one for yourself and one for someone struggling on the streets and give it to them. We made this book pocket size, so when sweeps happen and people's belongings get stolen by the powers that be, folks can put it in their back pocket and take it with them. It's much better than a Bible. So thank you for sharing time with us today.
Oh, thank you, Mimi, and the Flowers Flowers of the Litter Poets. And please post the information on that book on in the chat room. And anybody else who has information to share, put it in the chat so we can all share it with you. I thank you. I thank you for celebrating Walt Whitman in one of your poems while you're in his virtual home today. And maybe we can all unmute for a minute and congratulate George in Spain.
Woo!
Hey, George.
And
All right, we're ready to move on to the second group, the Bolton UK Poets. Up here is Dave Morgan. Dave is a writer and specialist in community learning. He's recently produced a series of radio plays for Bolton FM inspired by the work of local community groups. He's addicted to organizing things and is responsible for open mic nights, jazz events, cultural cabarets, workshops, and anthologies as part of his executive role with Bolton voluntary organization Live from Worktown. He is currently editing his second book of poetry collection for Flapjack Press. Welcome, Dave Morgan and the Bolton UK Poets.
Thank you, Robert. Of course, that was all 11 months ago. So a lot has happened since, and yeah, the book came out. It actually exists now. It's called On Not Being Observed. We have things in common with Oregon, insofar as it rains an awful lot here as well, and we're permanently in a damp place rather than a cold place. But other than that, perhaps not so many things. I was going to introduce our readers first. David Wigmore I've known for a number of years as a contributor to our regular open mic sessions at the Bolton Socialist Club. And they are branded under the Write Out Loud label. Write Out Loud is an organisation we created in Bolton 20 years ago, but has quite 8 or 9 different centres across the UK now, offering open mic facilities for local writers, encouraging people to articulate what they're writing and get their secret thoughts out. It's quite a therapeutic process, really. It's not an academic, it's not critical, it's not literary. It's very much, if you've got something to say, here's the place to say it safely. So I met David through that, and our substitute Rachel, who I was working with last night at an event at the Socialist Club, I've worked with over the years. She's really an artist. Well, she's a musician, songwriter, artist, poet in secret. Her animations are quite amazing. If you go on Rachel Appleton animations on YouTube, there's a number of them collected there, and they tell you something about the nature not only of what Rachel does, but also of our kind of musical approach to poetry to some degree. You know, we are not representing the University of Bolton Literary Society. We are people in town who write poems, and there's a difference. So I'm going to kick off with one and then hand over to Dave. I'll kick off with a little poem in memory of it was John Lennon's, can't say death day, but it's 44 years ago last Sunday since he was shot. And it reminded me that I'd written a poem on the 30th anniversary of his assassination. And so we resurrected it last week at an event in Manchester. And in terms of collaboration, I've not tended to write things with people, but I've worked a lot with musicians, Kevin Bates particularly. So I do like working with a musician alongside. It takes an awful lot of weight off you if you're performing and there's someone who can slow the action down and give it atmosphere and mood and yeah, inject a bit of rhythm into it that you might lose just on your own. So I love working with musicians. So this is lines written in the Tudor House, which is a pub in Wigan, on the 30th anniversary of the death of John Lennon. Hey, Johnny, you hook-nosed bastard. You made Spec sexy and played a mean Rickenbacker. Attention-seeking nihilist, gobshite scouser, and merciless poison-tongued delinquent. hiding the quiet man inside. To my dad's amazement, you grew up and flew away, sharing your dreams, leaving your nightmare screams in some therapist's waste bin. You reached out and embraced the world as it is, and it shot you.
Oh.
It doesn't usually bring the house down with laughter, you know, but it's an acquired taste, as they say. Dave, would you like to throw one in at this point? So now I'll come back. We'll do a round on this.
Okay. Do you just want to read one, Dave, but we do one at a
Yeah,
time?
yes. Unless you want to get yours out of the way. If you want to get them,
No, I'll just do
we
the
can
one.
rotate. We can rotate
Um,
until our time runs out.
Yeah. So I'll introduce myself a little bit. I live in Bolton. I started writing poems as a teenager, just kind of funny poems to make me mate laugh. And other than that, I never really shared them with anyone. I've always been scribbling. Then a few years ago, there was a competition in Bolton, a poetry competition, and the winner got their poem shown on Bolton railway station on one of the bridge stanchions, and I quite like the idea of seeing my poem there, so I entered that competition. I didn't win, but after the competition I got an email from Dave Morgan to say, would you like to come and share your poems? So that was how I got involved with sharing my poetry with anybody, really. That was a number of years ago, and kind of it's gone on from there. My first poem, I really like old stones and prehistoric sites. And in the hills above Bolton, there's a Bronze Age burial mound, and I like to go up there. There's a really nice box-shaped stone that's got a nice flat top on. You can sit on that stone and write. From that viewpoint, you can see from the northwest of England across to the Welsh mountains, and you can see north to Blackpool Tower. So it's quite a good vantage point. What I like about those is I look at old stones and I think this was people trying to make sense of the world around them, trying to impute meaning into their world. And we've never given up doing that, and we keep finding new ways of trying to make sense of the world and trying to make it meaningful. This poem it's connected to pareidolia, so it's seeing, particularly in this case, religious images in everyday objects, but the image is of a British news presenter and TV presenter, and I think he's also connected to the Humanist Association. So I was trying to do something like that. Anyway, his name's Jeremy Paxman, and my poem is called Paxo on Toast. Who lifted the needle to start the earth turning? Who lit the pilot light to set the sun burning? Did the proteins arrange themselves in neat little rows, put themselves in order so everything could grow? I pondered such puzzles while making my breakfast. To my surprise, rising out of the toaster, scorched into the surface of the thick white slice, was the face of Jeremy Paxman. The powers of the universe had coalesced, using the element with fervent heat to send me this message. But why? I looked at him and he sneered. I donned my dressing gown as a hacksam and bowed before the crusty face of Jeremy Paxman. I took a swill of tea to act as some kind of votive. Jezza looked disdainful, but what was his motive? He looked at me like I should know all the answers, but I'd forgotten some steps to the tribal dances. I said, Hapax legomenon, to see if that would work. I confessed I did threaten to overrule Derek Lewis. but all he did was smirk. I grew tired of feeling demeaned by a slice of toast, so I flipped him over, slathered butter all down his back, and ate him. Feeling much better, I went about my day. This is the story of humanity. Thank you.
Fabulous, Dave. Well, that's the kind of stuff we do, I'm afraid. That just about sums up our school of poetry. Fabulous. I love it. It's what they call slightly iconoclastic. Right. Let's move across to Rachel, because Rachel is a person of many talents, and she's stepped in at the last minute. So having realised we were a couple of people short, I got on my knees last night and begged her to appear today. And without much thought, she said, "Of course I will." And here she is. Rachel, would you like to introduce yourself and kick off with one?
Okay. Right. Well, I think you've said it all really about me. I'll probably just explain a bit about my poetry style, which is probably more humorous and a bit cynical. I'd say I like to look at like the gritty things in life, but then have a laugh at them. So that's my kind of style. I'm not a serious poet, but I love it, and I do like to kind of see the funny things in life. But I think I'll start with this one, which I did last night actually, which is Beat Time, and it's obviously about the passing of time and kind of a relationship with the clock that we all have in our bedroom. Okay, I will start. Excuse me. Tick tock, I'm a clock, one with bells on to wake you up every morning at 6 a.m. for your god-awful job, again and again. I'm the one that you sleep beside, and I get such a buzz when I wake you wide. You need me, you hate me, I remind you of death. The days rise and fall, as does each breath you take, and when I shake you awake for your god-awful job, your god-awful day closer to God. But I am not evil, I'm just a clock. I am the one that goes tick-tock. And I so want to hold your life in my hands. I'm your ticking time bomb, you understand. So you'd like to smash me in my face, but instead you put me in my place on the bedside table where I watch you sleep, and all the while I time keep. So to this I will confess, as time goes by you'll love me less. As you get older you'll loathe me more. I'm a constant reminder of what you're heading for. So although I'm a clock, you'll always be mine. In case you forgot, you can't beat time. So
Okay, thanks, Rachel. We were celebrating a good colleague of ours who passed away last year, Paul Blackburn, and we felt it was fitting to all his friends to get together and celebrate his considerable talent and presence and support and madness. He was a complete raving loony in our terms, Paul, but a lovely fella, and we miss him badly. The essence of Rachel's thing about time is to do with the passing of time. And this book that I was working on, called On Not Being Observed, is a lot to do with the passing of time, but also about false memory. And I started to bring things together that I'd written, which were autobiographical. And then I found them being disputed by other members of my family who said they never happened. And, why was I bringing our family name down by talking about them in this way? And it was a bit of a dispute really as to how honest you should be about what you do with your family. I'm going to read this one called The Man Who Dances on Tables. It's vaguely Christmassy. It takes place on Christmas Eve, so it's seasonal. Everyone avoids eye contact and disowns the man who dances on tables at the Catholic club, as if to say, he's not with us. Okay, it's New Year's Eve, and it's singing in the rain time, and a man who's never had a dancing lesson in his life thinks he's Gene Kelly. And the table is full of half-filled glasses, and one of its legs is wonky, but not as wonky as his. But just because he's the chairman's brother-in-law, they pretend it's not happening. What's transformed him other than 6 pints of Guinness and a bottle of red wine. He's in a world of his own. He's in a film of his own, surrounded by a family who act as if it's normal, until the table tilts just a little too far and a stentorian voice cuts through the orchestration to bring him to his senses, to spoil his fantasy. Get down off there now, David. People will think you're daft, and by association, so are we. Family shaming reduces the 50-year-old man who dances on tables to a 5-year-old boy who's just thrown up at the local church Christmas party after gorging himself on every forbidden sweet and treat. That's your trouble. You can't just enjoy yourself. You have to take things too far. Well, that was my elder sister there, who now disputes it ever happened. But and maybe it didn't. Maybe it's all, you know, false memory. I don't know. Dave.
That was hysterical.
Oh, thank you. It was meant to be. Thank you. Oh. What better compliment could that be?
I think I know him.
Well, it's not just me. That's great. Yeah, yeah. Lovely. David Wigmore.
Okay. But due to the international nature of this evening, which is so lovely to be part of, and I do believe in ambitious titles for poems, so this is called Jumping Up and Down for World Peace. We are all facing the same way, a group of strangers, almost naked, tattooed buttocks, hernia scars, ileostomy bags, slabs of flesh all on show. Vanity is the only taboo in this theatre. We've never met, can't speak the same language. Here it comes again, jump. And we all jump. Waiting, expectant, grinning like we are all in on the same joke. If you know, you know. The sky has clouded over now, flat, white, as the water chills our shoulders, salt stings to remind us that we are truly alive. Nothing better to do than stand here waiting for the next one. Jump! And we all jump. Most of them roll in peacefully like a smooth flick of a cable or a camping mat rolled out, flattened at its finish by the shore. Others signal their threat from the back of the queue, dark blue, brooding, taller, gilded with a steel blade, thundering in surprises, breaking into a bare-toothed roar of white spume. Jump! And we all jump. The symbiosis of forces, meteorological and personal, the wind, its speed and its fetch, the Coriolis, all timed perfectly, each leap is amplified, like the Millennium Bridge, resonating with people, all in step with one another. Never brimming over into ecstasy or euphoria, it is only jumping up and down. Our reasons for jumping we keep to ourselves. This meeting was not ordained, just a happening. People are like that if you just give them a little space and warmth. The wind drops, the sea stills, the sun sets. We dry off and pack up, going back to our lives, having spent an hour of feeling just how it could be. Thank you.
That's great, Dave. Lovely. Lovely. So how it could be, taking the opportunity to experience things as they happen, not just standing there complaining about it all, which we're very good at. We're rather expert at complaining and then trying to turn it into something amusing. Rachel.
Yeah, I'm just unmuting myself. Right, okay. Do you mind if I do a poem about my dislike for dating apps? It's got nothing to do with anything else. Okay, right. Particularly Plenty of Fish. Okay, this is called Be Careful What You Fish For. And it's just a bit of a laugh, okay. What's a nice girl like you doing on a dating app like this? What's a nice girl like you doing on Plenty of Fish? There's plenty of scammers, abusers and bots, plenty of pout, eyelashes, crop tops, plenty of starts, plenty of stops. As for potential partners, there's not lots. The dating app POF has become a dirty word. I haven't been on it myself. This is just things that I've heard. 'Cause what there's not plenty of is love and romance. It's worse than your most awful song and dance. There's plenty fake profiles, it's not worth the chance. 'Cause plenty of fish is just pants. And what's a guy like you doing on POF? It's full of pranksters. That drop-dead sex kitten is just a big hairy gangster. There's plenty of shitesers, plenty of lies, plenty of husbands, plenty of wives. Fraud and thieving, it's no surprise, 'cause plenty of fish is just a smack in the eyes. So before your bank details get stolen from Ivor and you're $3 down thanks to Michaela, there's plenty of time to stop being stupid, to stop trying to get shot by a cherub called Cupid. So cancel your profile, just execute it, 'cause plenty of fish has become polluted. And be careful what you fish for.
God, imagine what you're talking about. I've never needed to on a dating site. Believe me, it's not a problem. You just need to be a poet, you know. I'll say no more. I'll read a poem about Bolton. Worktown, our organisation Live from Worktown, takes its name from a study that was conducted at Bolton in the 1930s by a group of highly professional anthropologists, sociologists, artists, photographers from London who embedded themselves into Bolton to observe what working class culture was, in fact, because they didn't understand it. And they'd all been working abroad in the Trobriand Islands and places like that, but they understood more about those people than they did about Northerners. So they spent 3 years embedded in Bolton, secretly observing the lives of Boltoners, and they called Bolton Worktown to anonymise it, since they could see no other reason for its existence other than people grinding out their daily bread in factories. So we're Live from Worktown, trying to keep that culture going. And this is called Wine Bar in Worktown. I am sitting in the Worktown wine bar, wondering if my wine is corked, wondering whether to complain, wondering if I can be bothered, wondering why I can't be bothered. In other words, just filling the afternoon, wondering, not doing. The girl behind the counter busies herself. She's doing. She's wiping tables, filling sugar bowls. She's rearranging trays of cakes and tarts. She's not saying, I like my work. She's saying, I take pride in my work. In other words, she has a sense of purpose, doing, not wondering. Across the road near the library, a car draws into a disabled space. A young woman in short skirt gets out, opens the rear doors, handles the ramp with practiced ease, pushes out a wheelchair in one smooth motion. In the chair, head rolling, is a child of 6 or 7, her arms conducting an imaginary orchestra. They set off with purpose. It's just another rainy day in Worktown. People will get on with their lives, doing the things they have to do. Should I take my wine back? I've drunk most of it now. It had a plastic cork anyway. I'm sitting in the Worktown wine bar, wondering, not doing. What a lucky bastard I am. So that's everyday life for us retired folks there isn't a wine bar in Worktown. I'm lying. I'm trying to big it up. David.
I've got one more if we're all out of time. Yeah,
I think we're okay for this.
Okay. Again, thinking about the international nature of our evening tonight. This is called Return from Teenage Adventure. When your son goes traveling around the world, becomes a man, and then comes home to his parents. It's just a brief one about that. Not a tourist, a traveller. Calls it Budapest. and Nicaragua. Dad reaches Mum's hand across the table and squeezes it in affection and as a channel for self-control, as he explains to them that cutlery is nothing more than a bourgeois affectation, as they watch him eat his favourite spaghetti bolognese with his fingers and wonder what the hell happened to their beautiful son, who put that braid in his hair, gave him the ethnic jewellery, and put that tribal tattoo on his scrawny shoulder. And why do all his sentences go up at the end, as he spins his fingers like they're making candy floss? And what is that smell? They glance at each other in love, relieved that their son is home. Thank you. Thanks very much.
In a nutshell, Dave, fabulous, lovely. Thank you. Rachel?
Okay, right. Okay, I'm going to do one about my addiction to chocolate, which I called it Sweet Fat Lover. I managed to get off it lately and my sugar levels have definitely come down, but it's something we should all think about. Okay, it's only a short one. Okay. Goodbye to chocolate, my secret love. You enlightened me in the region of my brain where dopamine resides and rides and slides, my serotonin roller coaster. You sugar sweet fat lover, smothered me with your brown slime. You were mine, and now it's over. Goodbye to chocolate, my secret love. You made me sick and tired. You prick, you filth. I love you with all my mouth. That's it. Just a short, sweet one.
Robert, have we got time for another round? Robert?
Yes.
Time for another round?
Yes, yes.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Excellent. Thanks. I really enjoyed this. I feel that we're kind of inflicting our road show on you in a sense, but this is completely unrehearsed. I haven't seen Dave for some time. I've seen Rachel in the last 24 hours, but you know, I feel both comfortable with those two people, but also feel comfortable with this audience, which is wonderful. It's wonderful to be able to show off to an international audience. You know, it's very enjoyable. Thanks to George for even conceiving of this idea in the first place. So one of my heroes is strong, but one of my influences is Gary Snyder, and a person who you obviously know intimately on the West Coast, and across the USA, of course, internationally. So we have, on one side of Bolton, we have wonderful hills, reservoirs, plantations of trees, big views, as Dave described earlier. We get to the top of those hills, see right across Manchester, which is in a bowl, right across the other side, the Peak District, right north up to the Lake District, and so on. And it's a beautiful place to watch the sun go down or come up, and so on. And it's only a few miles out of town. So this is called Entwistle, which is a reservoir up near us, with Gary Snyder. And it refers back to during lockdown, COVID lockdown, a lot of people were getting out on their own, and they're recording this and posting it on Facebook. So it's some wonderful records of people doing these treks around the hills, which meant for a man of my age, I didn't feel such a need to do it myself because it was already been recorded for me. I could just sit at home in the sun thinking, heck, well done, lads, keep going. Entwistle with Gary Snyder. So you're sitting on that outcrop, looking down the valley through the man-made forest and just catching a glimpse of the lake through the trees, and it's a big sky, all as you imagined. And no one comes on this track, which is mainly overgrown, and you've been treading Wimberries for 20 minutes, and in no way is this isolation. You're only 2 miles from an A road, and on a day like this, it doesn't feel like desolation. It's not quite approaching dark, but there's no fear of puma or bear, although beware the midges. They can eat you alive. A short way to the east is a city and its satellites. In that metropolis of 1 million, there are people who are more isolated more desolate, more threatened, and you marvel at your luck and take credit for your initiative in hiking from that bus stop on that A road, when you suddenly become aware of someone beside you. And it's not frightening, but it's about to come chastening, as Gary says. That's your trouble, friend. Overthinking. You're polluting the best of the day with your idle thoughts when all you have to do is let go. Soak yourself in the clean air. If there are no lilies, at least consider the heather. Breathe it in. Become part of it. Put your rational thoughts aside for just 10 minutes. Just 10 minutes. They'll still be there to cheer you up later. No point spoiling this small journey by ruining it with thinking. And the sun is setting behind you, and an orange glow suffuses that little snatch of lake, and a pale crescent moon, scarcely visible, appears above the city in the east, and the air is warm and still, and the midges are enjoying their supper. But it doesn't matter until tomorrow. David?
I haven't any more prepared, Dave. That's all. I'm done.
Okay. Well, thanks for the one that you did prepare. Excellent stuff.
Oh, thank you. It's been wonderful. It's been great. Thank you.
Good. Rachel?
Right, okay. Well, what would you like me to do? Do you want me to do the one? Do you want me to do my toilet one?
I do want you to do your toilet one, but if you've got
right,
another one, you could do two, because they're fairly short, your poems. You could do two if you want.
Well, okay, I'll do my.
We'll do the toilet one.
But I
by all
don't like
means.
your toilet. Right, toilet one, okay. I don't like your toilet. I don't like your toilet. There's no lock on the door. And when you sit down, it's too close to the floor. You don't have no curtains and your window's too wide. And I feel that the people can see in from outside. There's a crack in the seat which pinches the skin. And every noise echoes and the walls are too thin. The flush takes too long till it flushes again. I've counted the minutes and it's at least 10. There's a huge daddy long legs that flutters around. And that's not what you want when your knickers are down. I don't like your toilet. I think you should know. But a girl's got to go when a girl's got to go. Ta-da!
There's a
lots of
wonderful animation with that Rachel's done, which you can find on Rachel Appleton Animation. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, it was a bit of an old one, yeah.
Yeah. Go on, another. Last one.
And another.
Finish it off for us, yes. Round us off.
Okay. Right, okay, let's see. I'm just having a look. Right. Okay. I'll do my egg yolk blonde one then, with the problem with trying to get the hair colour right. Okay. Like I said, everything's quite funny and silly with my stuff. Okay. Problem with trying to get your hair the right colour when you're blonde and you're doing it at home by yourself. It's a box dye. Okay. Egg yolk blonde. Egg yolk blonde. Not pearly, icy, just plain wrong. Not crystal, champagne, beige or ash, but egg yolk gold and bold as brass. Not platinum, but yellow rash. Not Scandinavian, but Euro trash. Egg yolk blonde. Egg yolk blonde, not strawberry dream or honey strong, not silky satin, but egg yolk goo. I'll have to use some blue shampoo, with blue dye stains like super glue upon my forehead, and shower and loo. Egg yolk blonde, gonna write me a bad hair day song, not caramel in a box. I'd rather have chicken pox than chicken period coloured locks. So here come the roosters, here come the cocks. I'm an egg yolk blonde, and that sucks.
You're not that bad, really.
Oh, it's because I use blue shampoo.
Okay, well, thanks to you all for listening to our contributions, which I enjoyed it immensely, and hope our David and Rachel have too, and hope to hear more. Let's move it along and hear some more of your work. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dave, and thank you to the Bolton UK poets, and thank you, Rachel, for pouring fun into life. It's a time that is really needed.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move now to the Cleveland poets, Pankhuri and John Burroughs of Cleveland. He is a 2022-23 U.S. National Beat Poet Laureate. He previously served as a 2019-2021 Ohio Beat Poet Laureate. He's a dynamic performer who has wowed audiences from Oakland to New York City and myriad points in between. His dozen books include most recently The Rest of the Worthwhile and Rattle and Numb, Selected and New Poems. He currently maintains the Cleveland Poets blog and Northeast Ohio Literary Calendar and has served since 2008 as the founding editor for Crisis Chronicle Press, publishing over 100 books by esteemed writers from around the world. Find him at www.crisischronicles.com. And perhaps, John, you can put that up on the chat room so we can all share that. Take it away, John.
Thank you, Robert. It's a pleasure to be here among you all, and thanks to the Walt Whitman Birthplace Association and George Wallace for inviting us and including us in this fabulous series that keeps going and maintaining a great standard of poets. And I really enjoyed hearing the Bolton UK poets and the Flowers of Litter poets. Just honored to be among you. So I am from Cleveland, Ohio. Most people think of America as having, two oceans on each side. Well, we have our own little ocean above Cleveland, Ohio, and that's Lake Erie. And but it's kind of a really good, diverse, interesting scene as far as literature here in Cleveland. A lot of great writers, different types, and who cross-pollinate, and so today I picked two other poets to accompany me who that I greatly respect and I admire the work they do. Diane Borsenik could not be with us today, unfortunately, but I will read a poem of hers at the end of my set. But first, I would like to introduce Judith Mansour. I first met her when she was the executive director of the LIT, Cleveland's Literary Center. And she has done so many good things for poets and writers across Ohio. She conceived of Muse magazine, a gorgeous, artistically put together literary magazine. She has worked in the academic, nonprofit, and arts community for decades, and her life is ruled by her love of family, words, food, a pack of unruly cats who barely tolerate her, and her husband and daughter. And well, I'll let her, if you have anything else you want to add about yourself, Judy, please do that. I was really thrilled to have the opportunity via my Crisis Chronicles Press to publish her book, Khan Zaman, which is kind of a memoir in poetry and prose. And it has photographs from her family and her history and just fascinating stories she tells and tells so well. And it's an honor to call her my friend, Judith Mansour.
Thanks, John. Honestly, in all sincerity, thank you for including me in this. I am deeply, deeply honored to be here with all of you and a little cowed by the talent around the screen today. So thank you for including me. And without further ado, I'll just get to reading because I'm already really, really nervous. So Whitman was definitely, I feel like his work not only appealed to everybody because it was beautifully crafted, but so much of what he wrote about were things that are equalizers. And I believe that there are a number of things that are equalizers among us: food, love, and grief. And so those are primarily the things that I write about. So I'll start us off with something called We Were It. Running hand in hand down the Bowery to catch the subway, New Year's Eve. Your vintage car coat, mink collar and cuffs, thin wheel corduroys, threadbare and soft. A cashmere sweater and tam completed your look. Combat boots, your tuxedo jacket, the whole of my outfit, stockings and garter notwithstanding. The temp below zero, but a vintage sable blocked the wind. Weed, cheap snacks, and pretenders on vinyl in Brooklyn started the night because we were that kind. New school prodigies, a few trespassers. Off to Manhattan at midnight. We were the third shift, not even dessert. Eye-level fireworks from a rooftop balcony and champagne and antique crystal. Our goodwill chic shouted hello. We exchanged the look. Bullseye, a victory of youth. You'd gone to the balcony for backslaps and handshakes, scotch and soda. I to the parlor, martini and olives. A hibiscus smile in ancient Chanel and sensible heels approached. Her small, veiny talon to my elbow guided me out. A face to the rug, imperceptible, a glance almost. My jacket fell open. Oh, scorched by my bare skin, her eyes swirled. I don't know we've met. I pointed to the portrait that hung to her left. I was nude, you the artist. We were it for a while. Anyway, weren't we? Okay. And this is called Eclipsed. Cardboard glasses, 5 to a pack. Purchased last minute. Restaurants closed, offices shut. Empty fields, a makeshift campsite. Pop-up villages, all the rage. Selling space to travelers, funnel cakes at a fair. This hysteria, the rapture, a Broadway spectacle. The day forecasted bleak as gall. The sun, the diva, couldn't refuse a cameo. Like saffron, she blossomed across the day. Then a baritone, Then a baritone brought jaundice who crept across the stage. Birdsong ceased. Dusk dropped like a curtain onto the stage. Nighttime, Brer Rabbit dropped into the pit, conducting toads and crickets, a spontaneous opus coming on cue. They played with abandon, but crows crept from their corners. Pigeons poisoned the mood, snuffing the nighttime symphony as the sun and the sparrows stole the stage once again. How are we doing on time, John? Okay.
You've got plenty of time.
Shit. Okay. Okay, this one is called Simmering. Ennui left to simmer, reduced to a sludge, thick as regret, unseen from miles away. A drink with a friend, tethered through time, the promise of history, of laughter. You know me made new knows me's made tucked safe. A shock of passion, like ice to hot oil. Spatters and sizzles, sensory kaleidoscope, synthetic glitter wand sprung to life. Shutters flung open. Wind blows orange, green. It sounds like vodka cascading on ice. feels like the aroma of fresh baked bread. Awakened, you revel, bask and swim and swim and swim, and reach the shore and finally sleep. Melancholy lies in wait, sleeking, sneaking, skulking below. A cat crossed the pillow that curls round your neck. Soft little creature with razor-like tines that puncture and rip, releasing embrace. The reprieve, ice cream, once left melted, ennui in its pot to simmer again. A little while back, I was invited with a group of people to participate in this project called, it was for the Ohio Scenic Valley, Cuyahoga Valley Park System. And each of us was assigned a plant or a route or some aspect of the Cuyahoga Valley parkways. And so I was assigned the section called weeds. And so I selected jewelweed, and my poem is called Beneath the Bloom. Jewelweed, oxymoron of sorts. Kind of like, you're pretty for a foreign girl, they said. When you're not even foreign, or maybe you are, but what does that matter? The thing with weeds is they're not foreign, they're indigenous. They just crop up like the convenience store your dad never had, was accused of owning because he drove a Cadillac and had olive skin. The thing with weeds is that they're healers sometimes. Hidden kindness. Jewelweed soothes the relentless itch of poison ivy, scratched so much that the skin breaks open, starts to bleed. Generous in sap, zaps the pain, like a hug from your mom when your third grade teacher called you a dirty Syrian, but you weren't dirty or Syrian. The parks and the woods where you're encouraged to hike, the scenic trails, pretty with plants and vines and brush, that you cannot pick or pluck or take for fear of fines, steep and harsh. The cost of living without knowing the rules. Refined flora, not mixed or cross-pollinated, because all you saw was a tangle of green with magnificent petals buzzing with bees. Jewelweed is fine to satisfy an itch after slumming in the woods, a shoulder to cry on, as it were. But you were not to be kept, brought home in a crystal vase, carrying a bouquet, God forbid, with that luscious bloom that makes boys chase girls they don't love for real. Impatiens carpensis, your real name, with irresistible nectar, hummingbirds, butterflies, lured, seduced by their exotic flesh, but we know better. The pale spotted touch me not as a weed. It's invasive, it's intrusive, it assumes too much. And I'll read one last one. My closest and dearest friend took her husband to the hospital with what she thought were kidney stones, and it turned out to be pancreatic cancer. And he was dead 10 days later. And unfortunately, they live far away, and I couldn't be with her. And in my culture, you know, when somebody dies, you know, we swarm, and we swarm with food. So I told you I write a lot about food. So this is called In Lieu of Magic. Tea, hot and strong, cloudy with milk, a tincture on the wound, gaping and raw. The aroma of chicken, roasting and warm, sneaks through the house, a nudge to remind her she will feel again. Risotto, thick with cream, is a fender to cushion the blow, every second that she remembers this new life. When anger alights, an appetizer of apples and almonds, apricots and fig, stiff and sticky, something to gnaw, chewy and stiff, a snack of worry beads to keep her busy. Laundered sheets, pressed free of the furrow that cuts her forehead as she tries to make sense. I'll bake her a cake in lieu of magic with a phone that God would answer when it rings and rings. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Judith, so much. Powerful. I have posted the link to your poem Beneath the Bloom in the chat. I love that poem too. And also a link to Judith's book, Kanzaman. I kept going back and forth about what to read. You know, I kind of planned to read certain things, and then I hear everybody else, and then I change my mind. And it's like the older I get, the more changeable my mind is. It's just constantly changing. I'm drinking coffee and, you know, thinking, I should have drank tea, or, you know, it's a curse. So I went to look through my poems. I love Walt Whitman, and he was a big inspiration for me coming into poetry, and still is today. And I was surprised that I hadn't really written any poems that talked about him, but I've written two that kind of alluded to him. One a very early poem and one a later one. And I'm a little embarrassed by the early poem. And I don't know how well it does on in a Zoom, because it has lots of puns on the page, like depression, you know, deep press ion. But I'll give it a try as a nod to Uncle Walt, who I adore. So this is it. This is the old one, and it's entitled Electric Miasma. John Burroughs is something like an indeterminately charged deep press ion, positive or negative, depending on which way the wind's particles blow. North Pole, South Pole, godsend, asshole. I soar with rhymes. I pour at times. Sun visor, daughter miser, Kubla Kaiser, word up riser, untoward down player, getting grayer and grayer, and eventually gayer with or without your little pills, teeming landfills, aching hills, bone mills, TV swill, Jack and Jill Amityvilles, 3.5 Mendelssohns, and Camp Pendletons. So upend someone and call me him or him me if you will. Still, I'm something like an indeterminately charged deep press ion. No C icon. Rhyme addict. Line scion. Cowardly lion. Lying in a meadow full of leaves of grass, saying to my up and down poles, I'm Walt Whitman, my ass. Oh, that's a silly one, but electric miasma. So the later one is a bit more, the more recent one is a bit more serious, and it was an ekphrastic poem after a piece called Autumn Field by Si-Yun Chang, and it's entitled Flagging. Leaves of grass wave their proud banners in conflicting directions, are bent by the broken. The body electric selectively wounded is broken by the bent where lilacs never thrive. A once buoyant meadow is trampled by twilight, grows weary of the fall, bloodied by witless man. So that was the second one, and you know, unfortunately, you know, the situation in the world is, oops, what did I do? Is you know, troubling, especially here in America, and I find that when I'm speaking with friends and poets in, especially in other countries, that I need to apologize for the midlife crisis the United States is going through at the moment. And so I will read this poem. What they did was elect a dump, a D period apostrophe ump, counting dollars and nonsense, McPounds and pence, wipe reason from the counter, order disorder with a side of squalor, and scatter sense. What they did was undo the fabric of e pluribus unum, attempt to divide us, to undo civil discourse with undue faux news, make America grave again, especially in Puerto Rico and the homes of dreamers, in the minds of our allies, and the realm of morality. What they did was foster brutality, attempting to make America gray, white, and male again. Get us talking about them again, even Van Morrison. What they did was chirp, Gloria, to America, while forgetting that Mexico is part of America. Forgetting one nation under God means united nation, not only nation or number one nation, because if an omnipresent God did exist, he or she would have to be big enough to cover every nation. What they did was keep churches tax exempt, though their Bible plainly states that the church is not a building or organization, but the people. And yet they still tax the people, but not always corporations, though they claim corporations are people too. What they did was spit in the name of God on the words of their Jesus, who they conveniently forgot was a man of color, a man of Middle Eastern descent. And when they heard his words, love your neighbor as yourself, they spit on them too. When they heard his words, give to Caesar what is Caesar's, and to God what is God's, they spit on them as well and took everything for themselves. When they heard his words, let the children come to me, for theirs is the kingdom of God, they spit on them also, and detained the children, and deported the children, and sometimes even lost the children, while insisting that Jesus loves the little children. What they did was hear the words of the man they claimed to follow and find them hollow, exclaiming, hell no, we want a white Jesus made in our image, one who is not a socialist, and thereby also caged their own thorn-torn Christ. All right. Sorry for the mood kill, but I felt that was important to share. This is another newer poem entitled Potential Energy. The universe will end in ice, or so a sage I know has said, but Frost seemed unconvinced. Baldwin spoke of fire next time, and I do not believe in endings even when we die and decompose. Our molecules don't dissipate, still matter, are uncreated, undestroyed, even at absolute zero when motion ceases and all disorder disappears. And your atoms, love, are inducement enough to give rise to another big bang. All right, I have one more poem I'd like to share with y'all, but first I'm going to read a poem by Diane Borsnick, who was unable to be with us today. She is, one of my best friends, and if not for her, I probably wouldn't have gone to my first poetry open mic. I wouldn't have started a publishing press. I wouldn't have started hosting readings and so many other things. My life would probably have a totally different trajectory. So I owe her a great debt of gratitude. And this comes from her Age of Aquarius, which I had the privilege of publishing about 10 years ago through Crisis Chronicles Press. And I selected this poem because it's very cold here in Cleveland today. Not as cold as it was a couple of days ago, but still enough that if I'm out there too long, I'll have icicles hanging from various orifices. Serious flannel. 0 degrees outside, and though much warmer inside,
Is anybody else losing John?
Yes. Rachel, your clock ate him.
Yeah, I
Try to
totally
text
lost him as
him.
well.
I'll try to text him.
My clock ate him. I just got that.
Or actually, maybe Shelley can tell him that's his spouse.
Should we go to another one of the Ohio readers?
I think that's all.
John and I were it because
Yeah.
Diane
Oh,
make
Yeah.
it.
oh, right, Judith.
Oh.
I realize. He's coming back on.
Yes, there he is.
Hi, everyone. I apologize for that. My computer just stopped and restarted unexpectedly. So I don't know how that or why that happened. So I'll let this be my last poem. This is Serious Flannel by Diane Borsnick. And thanks for your patience and for hanging around. 0 degrees outside, and though much warmer inside, she's breaking out the serious flannel tonight. None of that silly flannel, the pinched and scrawny kind, the kind that minces about, afraid to commit to what it was made for. Not for her. None of that thin and pretend flannel, delusional and deluding, aiming for fashion, trying to make a statement. None of those skinny balls of cotton, nor polyester balls either. No, sir, she wants the serious flannel, the real thing. She wants thick, deliberate, substantial, ample cotton, cocooning her. She wants flannel that flaunts its purpose, fluffy, furry, fat, and fabulous. Flannel that knows what it's for. Flannel that doesn't care what you think. Flannel that's out of the closet. Diane Borsenek. Thank you all so much for all the wonderful poems. So good to be among you.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Mimi, and all the flowers of litter poets, the Bolton and the Cleveland poets. Thank you all. What a great mix of different voices. It was a lovely day. The only thing that was missing, and Dave, we mentioned it before, is some of those bios of the compeers are about 10 or 12 months old. If George was here, he would have had a personal story, a personal, colorful story to tell about each one of you.
Can I just say, really, that I should have said before, Bolton has a very strong Walt Whitman connection, and which is how we got to know George in the first place. There was a group of self-helpers in the 19th century who wrote to Whitman in Brooklyn and went to visit him eventually and took him a birthday present and came back with his stuffed canary and a loving cup. And each year in May on Whitman's birthday, this loving cup is carried up into the hills by a group of devotees, and we celebrate Walt Whitman Day. And the Bolton Library is one of the biggest archives of letters from Whitman in England, because the correspondence between that group, the Eagle Street College group, as they call themselves, self-help men, and Whitman went on for 20 years, I think, in his later years. So we had a very strong connection to Walt Whitman and have many festivals and days and birthdays in celebration of his work. So thank you. We all share something in common.
Very good. Very good. What we also do, we finished 1:30, which is a kind of a good time, is we can leave this open for about 5 or 10 minutes. If people want to just chat, or if you need to leave, just buzz off whenever you need to leave. But I'll leave it open for some conversation for a while.
I'd like to share something with everyone in case, I suppose it would be more of something in the US, because I don't think I could do this abroad, but there's a book that I just had translated into Arabic in Israel. It's called War Poems, Israel, Gaza, the First 100 Days of Carnage. And so it was just translated, and I put together a video installation, which is a meditative installation about coming together as humans. And if anyone in the US would like info on this, I would like to tour the video installation, which opens with a book reading in Arabic, Hebrew, and English.
Oh,
So
wow.
I'm just putting that out there. The video installation happened here for the first time at a Jewish community center and synagogue for 3 weeks. It was up for 3 weeks, and now there are places in Philadelphia that we're working out calendar dates to have that there, because there's a large projector that I bring for the video installation. But this is about ending division between people and coming together. So I just wanted to throw that out there in case anybody knows anybody who might,
I used to be the associate director at MoCA Cleveland. Let's talk.
Okay, Judith, thank you.
Sure. I have a lot of connections in the art community here, so please, let's talk. I'd love to hear about and see this.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it made the news, didn't it? What was it? Was it San Francisco Bay Area news? I can't remember what it was. Your reading, your bilingual reading, Mimi.
Oh, I don't know. I know that there were 3 congregations, and then there was the news in Portland, which went out to a few other places because the news was there to come to this event, which was the anniversary it was the only Jewish area in Portland that did the first year anniversary of October 7th themed on coming together as opposed to just a pro-Israeli stance. And it was, to some people, very brave of these synagogues to do this. To the rest of us, including the synagogues, it's what we do. You know, we come together, we don't divide. And we also aren't on, if, you know, this rabbi friend of mine says, if you aren't on the side of people surviving, you're on the wrong side. So anyway, yeah, thank you, Judith.
So Mimi, I'm going to post my email address up there in the chat room. If you can send me some of that information, I'd like to introduce it to the birthplace.
Oh, thank you, Robert. Oh, that's really beautiful. Thank you. And one more thing about this. Everybody who touches and works with this project, from my writing to the translators, the Arabic and Hebrew translator, to the person who did the video, to the person who has helped me with putting together the sort of promo piece for this, to the people who have viewed it, it's really important to me that everyone knows that they are part of this ripple of peace going out into the world. And somebody on this Zoom call today, I think it was Dave Wigmore, was it you? You were talking about peace in a poem, I think. Yeah, so thank you for that. Because every time we say the word peace, I believe that it ripples out and does something beyond what we can imagine. And also thanks to John Lennon for that song.
We all good? Ready to close out? Yes, yes. Okay, Bonnie, we're ready to close out.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Bonnie, for running this through for us.
No problem. Take care, everyone.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Thank
all
you.
the tech. Thank you, Robert, for chairing
Yes.
this event. That's been great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And wow, Dave, I think you're doing a great thing up there. It's been nice to hear some new poets and lovely accents as well. And I love the accent because it has it sort of underscores the cynicism and humor of the North generally. And John, I think you're great. The work that you do is fantastic. Keep on doing what you're doing. I can't imagine how you get enough time to read all the books that you read. I follow you on Facebook and see the books that you're sent. I'm thinking, holy shit, how does this guy read this much stuff? I can't believe it.
Tireless advocate.
Thank you, Carl. I looks like you have a wonderful library yourself, and I very much enjoy following you.
It's a community, isn't it?
Yes.
If we can build that community of peace and words, then that's the best that we can do, right?
Yes.
Great stuff, Robert. Has George gone? I think he has, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. He opened the door, stepped in, and then took his congratulations and stepped back out again and back to the bar.
I noticed the same thing. He did tell me he was receiving his award at the very top of this Zoom call. So I'm sure he was being called out to the stage very shortly after.
Great. Fantastic.